Republic TV, our rolling coverage as far as the Indo-China military talks are concerned. And to decode this, what does this essentially mean? How exactly is India looking at these talks? Joining me right now from our studio is Major Gaurav Arya, also Sushant Sareen. Let me first go across to Major Gaurav Arya, then I'll come to you, Sushant Sareen, to get a better understanding of what does this essentially mean. Major Gaurav Arya, the fact that many would say that this is unprecedented, the fact that their Lieutenant General talks are actually taking place, lower level, tactical commander level talks have essentially failed. Are you really hopeful that there would be some sort of a positive resolution by the end of the day, or are we staring at a long military haul?
I think I would put my money on a slightly longish military haul, and I would not say that today might be one of the steps that both India and China take towards normalizing the LAC issue. But if we think that maps are going to be signed off, if we think that everything is going to be hunky-dory from today, we are living in a fool's paradise, it's not going to happen. Too much has been made about the pieces of paper that we've signed with China. Now, Shravan, what is happening is that apparently China doesn't give so much of importance to the pieces of paper that we have signed on 5 different occasions. We're talking about agreements with China about how we should deal with patrols, etc., which China seems to violate at least biannually, twice a year, every single year, and it's been going on for decades and decades. So I think we need to understand where China is coming from actually in all of this. And China is an aggressive power. China takes great pleasure in breaking the rules and saying that I'm throwing this back at your face. I throw this treaty back in your face, and I can do it. I think somewhere along the way, I'm not talking about war, I'm not talking about conflict, but China has to be dealt with at least by a show of force, which I think the Indian Army is doing on the border. We have combat air patrols running all over Pengong Tso Lake also. So I think we are going in the right direction. But if anybody thinks that things are going to be sorted out today, I don't think that's going to happen.
Continue our discussion on the other side of the short break. We'll also get in Sushant Sareen in a short while from now. But before I slip into a break, we do have our special guest joining us right now on this broadcast. And Major Gaurav Arya particularly would be extremely happy because you have General VP Malik joining us, former Army Chief. In fact, just to connect, Major Gaurav Arya was serving when General VP Malik was the Army Chief also. Thank you very much, General VP Malik, for speaking to Republic Media Network. Let me straight away begin by asking you, a crucial time, the 1999 in Kargil war when it was taking place, many would say that India was distracted. So there has been a lot of activity that happened on the eastern Ladakh frontier. What's your assessment of the current situation? And then I'll probably get in Major Gaurav Arya also to ask you a few questions.
See, post-Kargil war, first thing I must tell you is that we raised a new corps headquarters for Ladakh. 14 corps headquarters was raised, and additional troops were then pumped in as far as Ladakh, Leh Ladakh, particularly the eastern Ladakh is concerned. And since then, there has been a great deal of improvement, both in terms of strength of our troops, in terms of the kind of armor, artillery, and other weapon systems are concerned, as well as the infantry forces are concerned. There has also been a considerable improvement in the infrastructure. So situation today is quite different to what it was, say, 99 or 2000. And today we have fair amount of strength, whether it is a question of defending Galwan or question of defending Chumar or Depsang and all these areas. But the point that Gaurav Arya was making is right. Unfortunately, from 1993, when we signed the first agreement for maintaining tranquility and peaceful situation along the line of actual control, from that time till now, China has been, PLA in particular, has been gradually eroding all those agreements. And whatever understanding was there has now got eroded. And in recent years, in fact, the frequency of their violation has increased considerably. So while we have been able to sort out situations like Chumar or Depsang or Doklang, I think the situation is getting worse. So the first attempt has to be to sort out diplomatically the line of actual control. There should be a clear understanding where the line of actual control lies and which are the disputed areas in which, again, the understanding has to be there that we do not violate the present situation or the status quo of the disputed areas. What China has done now is to disturb the status quo in the area north of Pangong Tso, and also by crossing the line of actual control in Galwan Valley. So these are very clear violations, and when they are seen with other activities of China, whether it is Nakula or their understanding with Pakistan, etc., so the situation becomes more serious at strategic level. In order to sort out the situation at the tactical level or operational level, I think we have to stand firm, and we have to carry on with our talks at the military level or diplomatic level without conceding any ground. Situation must go as it was before May 2020, that is in April. So disputed areas must remain disputed without China occupying them as they have done today. And as far as the violation in Galwan Valley is concerned, they have to move back behind the line of actual control. There is no question of their disturbing or development of infrastructure. That is all happening in our own territory. They have done it in the past, we are doing it now, and we must continue with that development.
Ask you one question before I hand it over to Major Gaurav Arya. This is with regards to what's perhaps seen in places like Galwan area itself. This is what we picked up. On 5th of May, when the reconnaissance was essentially being done, what was picked up was a lot of movement on the Chinese side of the LAC. What they're having a problem is with the feeder road of the DBO. But many would say that this is something very surprising, because why should the Chinese have a problem with infrastructure building on the Indian side of the LAC? Do you think that would also form a part of the agenda of the military talks that are going to take place? That at least, let's be very clear, we are not going to give up anything from our side. We are going to be very strong, and we need to position ourselves in that particular manner.
You're absolutely right. That has to be part of the agenda which is being discussed today, and which will probably continue. There is absolutely no question of our accepting their violation and coming in and trying to stop the track or to interdict the track which goes from the junction of Galwan River and Shyok River going to the line of actual control. That area is clearly, that has never been under dispute. So there is absolutely no question of permitting them to stay on this side of the line of actual control. And it has to be part of the agenda in the present level of talks that is taking place.
So this is Gaurav here, and I would like to ask you a question, taking us all away, our viewers, away from so much diplomacy which we have spoken about, and about what our Ministry of External Affairs and the Chinese Ministry of External Affairs have been talking about. Sir, I take you back to Kargil when you were the army chief, and while there was a huge component of artillery that did a wonderful job, there was the Air Force that did a wonderful job, and all arms and services got together to finally attain that victory in Kargil. In a sense, it was a hardcore infantry action. What I want to say is that the Indian Army is a battle-hardened army. Whether we look at 1947-48, then we look at 62, 1967, 71, 1999 Kargil, and counter-insurgency and counter-terrorism operations, and also our stints abroad, like, for example, Operation Pavan in Sri Lanka. This is an army that is battle-hardened. This is an army that has seen bloodshed and war. It has seen victory, and in 62, also a defeat. This is the battle-hardened army. But if you look at the Chinese army, which is against us, now the Chinese army, to my mind, hasn't fought or won a war. It fought in 1979 against Vietnam, so badly defeated. And for almost 5 to 6 decades, they haven't won a war. This is not a battle-hardened army. Now, in the mountains, sir, in the mountains, and we can draw a parallel from Kargil also here in the mountains, while technology is always a multiplying factor, and while good weapons and equipment which China has, maybe some would say better than India, while these are always a positive, in the end, it is the man on the ground, the man behind the weapon, who will make it count in those high altitude areas, and there China is way lesser than the Indian Army is.
You're right, Gaurav. Firstly, as I said earlier also, that today's situation as far as the border with China is concerned, it's not like 99. There has been considerable amount of improvement. You're talking about the manpower, you're talking about the technology, you're talking about the weapon system, etc. They have improved considerably. Not only that, the ability of the Army and the Air Force to fight together in a coordinated manner has also improved considerably. So today the situation is much, much different. The second thing that you made is that, yes, we are a battle-hardened armed forces. There is absolutely no doubt about that. The Chinese PLA troops, they do not have the same kind of, the only advantage, as I say it today, is that they have got better infrastructure due to terrain in Tibet and the kind of roads and tracks that they have been able to build along the line of actual control. But when it comes to fighting against each other, or our having to take combat action against them, I have a feeling that if it is done on the ground of our own choosing, our troops will definitely be able to do much better.
Sir, but one more question which comes to mind is that, we often speak about, and today, the Chinese army and the Indian army are head-to-head, eyeball-to-eyeball. And since 1967, this example is famously given that there has not been a shot fired. Now, that may be so. However, if things get from bad to worse, I do not know what the Chinese army will do, for which, sir, I'll have to request for your comments. But I know that the Indian army will do, and I'm very, very sure of what the Indian army will do. There is no going back for the Indian army, sir. Even in 1962, when we were badly outnumbered, and if I may use the term out-equipped by the Chinese army, yes, we did suffer a defeat in 62, and there is no denying that. But there is this tale of bloodshed and sacrifice that the Indian army does not move back. In Kargil, sir, in Kargil, we fought blind at night bravely against a well-entrenched enemy. Now, that is the tradition of the Indian army. So we can all say with a lot of confidence that the Indian army will not move back an inch. That is not an option for us at all, sir. There is no retreat which I have heard of in my time in the army, sir. Nobody taught me retreat. Now, what will the Chinese army do? So what are the options in front of the Chinese army?
Look, firstly, let me say that very clearly, that I don't think it is in the interest of India or China to escalate this present conflict. And that will become necessary only if there is absolutely no progress during the talks between the military level or the diplomatic level or even at the political level. I don't think either China or India is interested in escalating and getting into a war situation. But having said that, as I said, that there is absolutely no doubt that if skirmishes do take place in a place like Galwan or anywhere else, whether it is Chumar, Depsang, or even Nakula, etc., those places, today we have got adequate strength. And today we have got the determination also, both at the military level as well as political level. Let's not forget that our attitude has changed from the time what we have seen, whether it was LOC crossing some years ago, or Balakot, things like that. So today the attitude, the strategy has become a little more proactive, I would say. And we can do that. But again, I would say, let's hope that these things can be sorted out peacefully so that neither India nor Chinese troops, they have to fight with each other or get into a situation where somebody says that I'm the victor and I'm the vanquished. That kind of a situation, I hope, will not arise.
Very much, General V.P. Malik, for speaking to Republic Media Network. It's always a pleasure speaking to you, General. I also would like to apologize to my all other guests who are still waiting for us, Sushant Sareen, as well as Major General Bishambar Dayal and Colonel Shailendra Singh. We'll come back to you in a short while after this break.